have a get it going type mentality that we want to go, go, go. And after
Hmm.
the first meeting on something, we're now going. And
Yeah.
I would prefer a leader to say, hey, here's what we want to work on. Here's when we're going to work on it, right? You go over all the particulars and then
Yep.
say, okay, before we get going, I want everyone to look at this. I want everyone to study this. And at our next meeting, I want to
Hmm.
hear from folks what their concerns, observations, perspectives might be on this. And then
Yeah.
at that meeting, if we've got all that cleared up and everyone's really comfortable, now we'll start moving forward. But unfortunately, we skip that step and we
Yep.
just keep moving. And so, to your point, it feels more like we're catching what
Hmm.
somebody else was doing or delayed on versus creating the next steps and moving
Yep.
forward in a very productive and effective way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And this is something I'd love to dive into again. So we'll have to have you back just to not only talk about these concepts, but frankly, there's so many different ways I think we could this conversation could go, and irrelevant. But there was another concept which I really want to make sure that you touch on, because of, once again, kind of the time that we're living in, and it really has to do with, be the most curious person in the room, right? And I think that it aligns so well with what we're talking about now as we talk about creating versus catching, taking a moment to pause. How can folks really, keep that in the forefront of their mind, and once again, just I'll just use this word again, but the power of, being the most curious person in the room, and why that's so important.
Well, everything we're talking about, Donnie, takes practice. So these aren't like light switches that you just start doing and magically you're doing them every moment and every day. So, it takes practice to be the most curious person in the room, but it's my belief, and my clients would tell you who have made progress, that once they kind of flick that switch and are now more curious with others, they come to better answers. And so,
Hmm.
if you and I were talking about something, the first thing I'd want to know is everything you think about the topic, why you think what you think, where
Mm.
thinking comes from, how passionate are you on this particular topic before I share, my perspective. So this is
Hmm.
really about being the most curious person in the room to ensure that you have everything that you need before you move forward and start making decisions or, moving forward with the particular project or initiative. This comes from a principle or a habit that was in Stephen Covey's book from the mid 90s, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
habit number 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's
Hmm.
so important, and it is so not done in organizations today. Everybody seeks first to be understood, and then if I have time, I'll try to understand you. But the first thing I
Yeah.
want to share what I think and why I think it, and we really need to flip that around and be more curious. If you're going to be more curious, you have to be a great listener,
Hmm.
and this creates a cycle of curiosity, listening. What I listen to creates another question, and we keep
Hmm.
going until you
Yeah.
feel you've said everything that you need to say. So it's a great habit to work on, a great principle. I love that word,
Yeah.
and it's something that takes practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the old adage was we were given two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? So I don't know if that was my grandmother or someone else when I was a kid, but yeah, absolutely amazing. Ed, it has been phenomenal having you on, today, my friend, and just to kind of as we close out, where can people find you? Obviously, we're encouraging folks to find the book, and I'm assuming that's everywhere as well. But where can folks follow you? Where can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I would encourage folks to go to my website, which is excellius.com. That's
Mhm.
EXCELLIUS.com.
Mhm.
Everything Ed Everts is there. A pop-up will appear that has an opportunity to purchase a book.
Mhm.
There are 9 chapters in the book. I don't believe all 9 chapters affect everyone, but even if there's 2 or 3 that can help you think about your career a little bit differently and move forward in effective ways, then I think that would be fantastic.
It's definitely something I'm going to be going back to as kind of a manual in principles, and that's one of the modular nature, if you will, of it. Is something that I've appreciated quite a bit. So, thank you so much, and everyone, thank you for listening in and tuning in. We'll see you next week.
If you like today's podcast, tune in to our social media to get updates on our next episode. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, at Only Dream Big Inc., and hit the subscribe button below.
That's all for today, folks. See you next time.